Look at that guy.
He's serious.
Yeah, serious.
It looks like
It's like the gothic sunflower.
Yeah, or somebody said the hair dryer from the beauty salons.
Okay.
Everything is rolling, so
Okay.
we are ready.
All right.
Moving. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome, Chef Rains, to Behind the Plate. We are here inside Dave's Triple B's right now. I'm really grateful that you're doing this and took the time to sit down with us. I know that you are really busy.
That's okay.
What is your business?
Well, I don't know. I have a lot of them now, it seems. I just wanted to be a chef, and then somehow I ended up in a town of 1900 with a liquor, spirits, wine store, a high-end butcher shop, and a kind of a gourmet barbecue restaurant,
Right.
you know, but casual. So it's my business is ever changing.
So what do we call you? Do we call you chef or butcher or sommelier, which I can't
Sommelier,
say,
yeah.
or booze consultant?
Yeah. The majority of people call me chef. It doesn't hurt that I walk around in a chef coat pretty much all
so
the
you
time.
can stand out.
Some people see me and they just say the butcher, you know. It's usually one of those two. I mean, I have most of my employees call me chef, and then a few don't, but I don't really.
What do they call you?
They don't really call me Dave much, because I kind of look at them like, why'd you call me Dave? But it has to be some sort of formality when I'm the boss. But
Right.
In the restaurant world, it's chef only. And a number of the people that work for me used to work with me in the restaurant industry, and so they just stick with chef.
Okay.
But it's kind of anything goes. You know, a lot of the customers who come in a lot stop calling me chef and just start calling me Dave, but I don't really go by Dave. So
Right, just the restaurant is Dave.
Yeah, Dave is just the restaurant
Okay.
name. So David is what I go by. But you know, they get to know me, and you know, it gets more casual, which is fine. It's not like I'm commanding a line in a high-end restaurant. You know, it's just a little more formal in that setting. But in this setting, it doesn't have to be formal.
Okay. I'm going to call you chef.
Sure.
Okay. I want to start at the beginning. Behind the Plate is a program that kind of gets behind the people that work in the hospitality industry. We want to know your story and more about you and how you ended up and how you got here.
Yeah.
So, where were you born? And where did you grow up?
Honolulu, Hawaii.
What?
And I moved to Monroe, Louisiana when I was like 6 or 7.
Okay.
And I lived there until I was 18. I joined the military, so I kind of left after that. And I came back sporadically to Monroe, but in general, I've been living New Orleans, Denver, Colorado, and then other countries. And then Baton Rouge for college. I went to LSU. And but I've lived in a lot of countries around the world.
Did the military take you to some of those countries? Like, where were you stationed in?
One of them. I moved to Germany during the first Gulf War, and by the time I got there, it was more about the drawdown, like the pulling back from the war, even though it wasn't over yet. So I didn't really go see a lot of action. It was more just doing your job. Like most of the military is just you have a job, and it's just like its own little company, and except the company does everything for itself. You know, all the supply and logistics to the, you know, trucking and the packaging and the manufacturing, and you know, they just do it all.
So when you got out of the military, is that when you went to LSU?
I got out of the military and I went to LSU. I did go spend some summers like overseas. Like I took marketing at Queen's College in London, and I did a historical and anthropological tour of Ireland for like a whole summer one time. I was a history major, so I like history. And then I was thinking about getting into international trade, so I thought I would take an international marketing class while I was in London.
So how did you choose to go do those things? Like, how did you choose London, and like how did those end up in your course study?
Don't know. I think if the teachers like you, then they say, oh, you know what? There's this thing I think you would think was really cool, and you would learn a lot. And I was always older than everybody else in college because I went to the military first.
Right.
So I think, and I looked like old since I was a kid, you know. So I parked in the teachers' parking and
always
just,
had a beard?
walked right past the security. Yeah,
You were born with.
I was just born with a beard, you know. And so I don't know. They treated me a little different. I was a little more serious about my studies than some of the other college kids, just because they were more kids than even I was.
Right.
And I think that's where it comes from. That affected me later on in my culinary career too. Is just you're just a little more mature, and they like you, and then they recommend you do this, and they help you go do it. So
That's. I have noticed that even about myself. Like, I would love to go back to school now because I would pay attention all the time instead of just socializing and being at school. And
right.
I am jealous of your opportunities that they push. Like, no one ever told me to. You should go to London and study journalism.
Still got to pay for it, but my parents were there for me, on that, and I had a GI Bill paid for college anyway, so they didn't have to pay for that. So.
And your education goes way beyond LSU. Can you tell me the other places that you have studied and what?
Sure.
And how did you choose the culinary path after your history major base?
Right. Well, I wanted to do international trade, and it turned out I just hated it. But I went to Taiwan, and I lived there for 2 years, and I went to Shizhou Dashwei to study Mandarin Chinese. And
Time out. Do you speak it?
I do, yeah.
Say.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to say what you're going to ask me, though.
Ask me if I would like to have some barbecue.
Niao Chi barbecue ma.
Okay, cool. That's not a big deal. Mandarin, it's fine.
Yeah, it's a piece of cake.
Yeah. Okay, continue. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
But I went there for 2 years, and I came back, but I started working in international trade, and I hated it with a passion. It was between Taiwan, China, and more or less Louisiana at the time, and I found it to be very not my cup of tea. It wasn't what I wanted to do at all. So I stopped doing it, and I started working in some restaurants, and I was one of those guys I thought they'd get rich and then open a restaurant, because I always loved restaurants, and some of my fondest memories are restaurant experiences. But I didn't get rich, and I wasn't going to, so I just went the other way, and I was a bartender and a waiter, and then a shift leader, and then a manager, and next thing you know, I was like, I'm just going to go for it and go to culinary school. And it didn't go over real big with my dad, because he wanted me to do something that seemed more lucrative, like international trade. Yeah, businessy. But my mom was super supportive, and so off I go to culinary school in Colorado. And the rest is history, I guess you could say. When I got out of culinary school, if you do well enough, they let you go on international stages. They say you have to complete a stage to complete culinary school, so you could go to like Applebee's or something, but I ended up going to Japan and working over there for 6 months.
You could go to Applebee's or Japan.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you didn't pay attention in class, you went to Applebee's. So we ended up doing that. Nothing against Applebee's.
Yeah.
But I ended up going to do that, and when I got back, I thought I would just settle in a little bit, and I started working in New Orleans, because I'm very comfortable with New Orleans, because I've spent so much time there. And after a little while in New Orleans, I started to realize everything in New Orleans is super similar, in a lot of ways, and it's the same dishes and the same ingredients, and I thought I wanted to learn more. So after a bunch of phone calls and trying to arrange it, I got some help from the chefs here, and I moved to Italy for 2 years. And that was the first big dive into Michelin star restaurants and just learning languages just to be able to get by and all that stuff.
How did you do? I mean, you already knew Mandarin,
right?
So picking up Italian and
well, I could speak German pretty well from 2 years in Germany, and I spoke that, but it didn't really help. And then I went to Italy, and it was just, I had a little notebook, and I would write down how to say this, and I would just keep trying to remember, and I had my little books on tape, and Pimsleur Approach CDs, and I just tried to learn as fast as I could, because there was no time to get caught up. They yell at you across the room, and you got to
Know what they're yelling
know what
about.
they're yelling about. Yeah. So the first place I worked was a smaller restaurant up in some mountain town in the middle of nowhere, and it was a casual sort of environment. But after that, it got more serious. I went to Italcook, which is a slow food cooking school in Yezzi, Italy, and that was a way to get visas and stuff. But every area of Italy would send a chef you spend a week with, and they would teach you the classic dishes from that area. So it was amazing.
Wow.
After I got those visas, I was able to go work in some Michelin star restaurants and stuff because they were, I'd met them already. I'd talked to the chefs, or one of them was an instructor at the school and liked me and said I could come work for him, and it just went on from there. And once you get in that circle, everywhere you go after that seems to be the same, level, because you don't go down, you go a bit bigger if you can. So
After all this education, are you still paying off your student loans?
no, because again, college was paid for. I
Okay,
didn't have to
right.
pay for that. So a culinary school my mom paid for, which I appreciate, Mom, if you ever hear this.
Yeah.
And that was a huge thing for me. And after that, I sold everything I had. I had everything I had in 2 big black suitcases, which I still have the suitcases. They're in my attic now. And that was all I had. I didn't have anything that wasn't movable in those 2 suitcases. So I traveled around the world with those suitcases, and you work for room and board, and you just have enough money to get from A to B, and you work all the time in those kind of places. So there's not a lot of socializing, and there's not a lot of ways. You don't go out to eat yourself unless it's a friend of the chef's, and then you probably don't pay for it anyway because you're getting hooked up because you work in this other Michelin star restaurant. And that's just how you go. You just sleep on a cot with a bunch of sweaty Italians, or big lined up in a room. We all just work ourselves on the ground during the high season, and that's just what it is. I mean, they pay you enough just so you can do something when you're off.
Make it, right?
That's all you're doing, but it's worth it. I mean, to me, it's worth it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you're a Michelin star rated?
I am not a Michelin star.
No?
You have to have the restaurant yourself.
Okay.
You can't just be.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't just work in one and be considered one. But
How do you get one?
It's the Michelin Tire Company's guidebook that's only in certain parts of the world, and Europe is the most famous part, of course. And it's just become one of those things where they trust those people to know, and not to just guess or look at a pretty picture or a nice looking menu and say, yeah. I mean, they come and eat. Like while I was at a place on the Amalfi Coast, which was 2 Michelin star, and it used to be 3. The Michelin people came in. We toured them through this Etruscan wine cellar that went down into the Amalfi, the Sorrento Peninsula. It went straight down for like a mile, it felt like, and it was just the most beautiful place. It was Sant'Agata sui Due Golfi, so you could see Capri out in front of you, and you could see the Bay of Salerno, and you could see the Bay of Naples. And it was as picturesque as it could be. And the food was amazing. Don Alfonso is a great chef. He's been around a long time. And they still, 2 Michelin stars, didn't get to 3. I was stunned. I mean, they put everything they had into this place, but it's hard. It's just hard. I mean, they're very critical. So.
Do you ever go back and visit your old buddies over there or anywhere?
No, I think about it. Yeah. I think I would like to at some point. Italy, probably the most of all of them. I've worked in a bunch of places, but maybe Japan and Italy. But the rest of them is just you worked for a while, you learned everything you could.
Right.
They recommended you go this place and you go to that place, and you work for a while, you learn all you think you can, and then when the learning slows down, you ask, where do you think I should go next, chef? And then they tell you, and then you try to do it like that and just learn all you can. In a shorter period of time. 5 years seems like a long time, but it's not that long, considering all the stuff I did.
And all the things you learned.
Yes.
You also learned how to make breads and...
I went to the French Culinary Institute in New York and studied bread making it was like a 6-month course. Very intense. It's really just for people that want to open bakeries. I was the only person there not doing that. I'd been working in Italy, and everything in Italy was from scratch, and they made it in the restaurant, and they were just way ahead of the game with me on bread, and I just felt a little like, what can I learn during the off season, that would help me. And I thought, well, I heard about this amazing bread making school from a guy I was working with in Italy, and he was an American guy, and he talked about it, how cool it would be. He used to work at that school, and he wanted to take the course. If there was anything, he would like take my pay just so I can take this course, but he couldn't fit him in. But it was a really amazing place. I mean, all the people that taught the classes were from like Amy's Bread and like famous restaurants, Michelin star restaurants who did their baking, and it was really cool. I mean, I learned a lot in that, and I like bread making.
So after all your time in Italy and New York and studying, did you go back to New Orleans after that, or where did you go next?
No, when I was leaving Italy, I was asking. It was actually Don Alfonso's son, who I was. What's his name? I can't remember all of a sudden. But anyway.
Alfonso Jr.
Huh?
Alfonso Jr.
No, it's I can picture his face. He's not going to see this, so it's okay. But he was like, I think you should go to work at Tetsuya's if you ever went anywhere. Mm-hmm. And Tetsuya's they don't have like a Michelin guide exactly for Australia. I don't think they do, or they don't have it. They didn't have one at the time. But it's the top 50 restaurant in the world for like 2 decades or something. It was crazy. It was very well established. And it was a Japanese guy that moved to Australia and incorporated Australian ingredients and seafood with Japanese techniques. Cool. And it was just beautiful plating. It was just super cool. So I went over there and worked for 6 months. And then I spent the rest of my time working at like the Royal Mail, which is outside of I can't remember anything anymore.
That other place
No,
in
it's
Australia?
outside. It's in Grampians. It's in the Grampians wine country. And so I went over there, and this guy was working in these Spanish Michelin star restaurants for years. He moved home. He took over an old post office in this town that had nothing left in it. Everything was gone. But it was in wine country, so you did have some fancy little B&Bs and stuff like that. And he opened up a fine dining restaurant and a casual dining restaurant in this post office. And so, like, the big open area, I guess you see in the old-fashioned ones, all glassed in, that's where his fine dining was. And, like, the hallways shooting off from that were the casual dining. So it was really cool. All came out of one kitchen, but he had these amazing techniques I'd never seen. I'd never seen anybody else do. So it was cool. I mean, it was a cool deal. And then I worked for another chef in Sydney when I wasn't there, and he had 3 restaurants and a catering operation, and he would get whole Wagyu cattle in, and we'd all go, like, all the cooks would go at like 3 in the morning, and we would all get together and break all the cattle down, and then we'd separate the parts into what restaurants it goes to, because he had a fine dining, a casual dining, a burger joint, and then a catering operation, which I thought was cool. And I've kind of tried to emulate that in some way. You know?
Especially the move into a small town that isn't there.
Well, he was in Sydney, but that was more of the other guy. But
is that where you learned how to butcher?
Well, in culinary school at Johnson Wales in Denver, I had an amazing butchery teacher, Mark Donettis, who he teaches like special forces guys how to like break down animals sanitarily in the field.
Okay.
Who go and teach like people in other countries how to do the same thing. He's just a real stud in the industry, and I was lucky enough to to learn from him. But I went and did whole animal butchery at like 4505 Meats in California with Ryan Farr, and he's a big whole animal guy, and he does a bunch of like fresh sausages and stuff like that. And I've done it in all the restaurants I've worked in, but it's usually like pigs and smaller things. But between culinary school and like 4505 and then just my regular career, I mean, when you work in Italy, you order tuna, a tuna shows up.
Right.
You know, when you order goat, a goat shows up. You know, you order whatever shows up. Fish is a fish. Still stiff from rigor mortis because they just pulled it out, still got the hook hanging out of its mouth. I mean, it's super fresh. Because these are high-end places.
Right.
So they weren't getting like a loin where you just cut some ribeyes. They were getting the animals, you know, because you can't just get one part, you get it all. So rabbits and whatever, it's just...
Couldn't do it. I like to imagine that my meat comes in cellophane already.
It doesn't.
That's how it was put, and it never had a
It
face.
gives you an appreciation for it. I mean, when you break down the animal and you realize like the waste that's potential from like raising this animal and then wasting a bunch because you only use part of the animal, it teaches you to appreciate like every little inch. What can you do with it? You know, we used to cut rabbits and up for different things, and like a pasta dish with most of it, and we'd cut little ribeyes with long tomahawk bones to put on the top of the pasta dish, and whatever the bones got turned into like stock, we'd make a ragu with. You know, I mean, it's cool when you deal with the whole animal. You learn you have to use every last bit of it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, I still can't be the hunter or the one that cuts it up, but I would like to know that all of it is
That's what you got me for.
being utilized. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk about your move after everything. How did you choose to live in Mississippi next to the railroad?
Do you want to wait?
I'm gonna pause everything.
Well, it's done.
Yeah, it won't be honking at least.
Oh, they won't talk anymore?
No.
Okay, we can keep
All
going.
right.
Okay.
So how did you choose to live in Mississippi?
I opened a restaurant called Restaurant Revolution in New Orleans, and the chef Folsom Tremano asked me if I would open a restaurant in Jackson for him, Seafood Revolution.
Yeah.
And I had just had a little girl not long ago, and I didn't like living in the French Quarter anymore, and it just didn't make sense.
Right.
So I was happy to come up here. I got here way ahead of time and just started working on setting this restaurant up on the ground while they were, you know, Foles has got a billion things going on. He lives in Donaldsonville. Chef Tremano's in Chicago. He's got plenty of things going on too. So I was just kind of the guy on the ground, and we just started building that restaurant. It ended up being a massive project, massive.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and a lot of detail, and I ran the test kitchen, and we started hiring people and picking out this salt shaker over that one, and it's just all the detail that goes into a fine dining restaurant. And I got up here and I did my time, and when I left, my wife is from Denmark, and she's not lived in the country before. She's from Copenhagen, so she's very much a city girl, and she thought she liked it here. Then we had 2 kids at that point, so we have 2 small children. We lived in a great school district because we thought it was good for resale when we moved to go somewhere else, off to some 3-star Michelin restaurant somewhere, you know.
Right.
And I just thought, what can I do? My first thought was to open a restaurant that incorporated my dad's cattle farm because he was raising Wagyu cattle in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. And we just kind of didn't get there. My first thought was to actually open an Italian restaurant because I love Italian. But developers are always kind of sketchy, and you don't know what they're going to do. So I waited around, and then I thought, I'm not going to rely on anyone else. I'm just going to do my own thing. And we started looking for a way to start selling my dad's cattle direct to customer using Flora, or using this area as a home base. And I couldn't find anything that was very safe, that was inexpensive in this area. So my contractor, who built seafood and has always helped me, his name is Brent Cryer, he lives here. He said, why don't you check out Flora? And I think he was doing it so he'd have his own butcher shop right next to his house, but we were looking around, and Flora was depressing. Flora had a bank and a post office, and I mean, not really anything else in it. I mean, everything was closed. I don't know, I didn't like it, but I was looking at the traffic on 22.
Yeah.
And I was stunned by how many cars are going by. And then I thought, well, here we have this building we could do our wholesale operation out of because it's big. It's 5,600 square feet. And because we're on this main street, why don't we put a little butcher shop in the front? And then, next thing you know, I don't want to do wholesale anymore. I just want to do the butcher shop and then try to get back into restaurants. So a year after we opened the Flora Butcher, we opened Dave's Triple B in Jackson. And then once the vid hit, it just wasn't worth being in Jackson. Jackson, I mean, I pat myself on the back for getting out of there because it has just gotten worse instead of better. So we moved it out here. There was an opportunity to put the Triple B in this little 1,000 square foot, exposed brick building. I think it's great. I love the look of the building.
And Joe said it was an old grocery store for
It
the?
used to be Raspberry's grocery store a long time ago, like a long time ago. And then it had been a bunch of things over the years. It had been a burger joint called the Blue Rooster right before then, but he had moved to a bigger building. And I just liked the building. And the guy who owns this building is a good friend. He sold me my butcher shop.
Okay.
He rented it to me for practically nothing in the beginning and then sold it to me. So he's always been on my team. So I thought it would be good to put something in here and, you know, just be more of a part of Flora. So the next thing you know, my feet are tapping and I'm like, what am I going to do? And at some point I decided to just stick with Flora instead of trying to go to some area that needed something I had or put a Flora Butcher Annex out in Brandon or do something. I thought, well, let's just build on Flora and make Flora more popular. And that's when the Range Cellars came in, because all the customers are usually foodies are into wine and spirits. So I thought it was a natural progression. So I bought the building next to mine, and so now
you have all the stuff happening in Flora.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever you brought here, and I guess it's people and business and money, has done a world of good for this area.
I didn't start out like
You
that.
didn't start
I
out-
just wanted to not go out of business.
Right.
You know? But next thing you know, it's all the buildings are filling up and these businesses are popping up and they're putting money into their buildings and the facades, and it just, you know, it's still a little tiny town in Mississippi, but it's a world of difference from when I got here.
But you have people coming in from the area, but that are from other places originally to buy your meats and your cuts of.
Oh, sure.
So tell me about some of I think you said you have a lot of Asian people that can't get the cuts of meat at a regular place.
We get a number
Europeans.
of Asians and Europeans have specialty cuts, specialty sausages. The Europeans in particular want certain sausages, but the Asian community, it's certain cuts you can't get unless you have like whole pigs hanging back there like we do, and we can do certain things for them, and we're willing to do it. Where, you know, it's not your everyday thing, so it's not convenient for us, but we're happy to do it because we know this is the only place they're ever going to get it. So we like that. I like that. I used to live in Asia. I mean, I appreciate all the things I used to eat there. I loved Asian cuisine, so I was fine with that.
Okay, back to the butcher shop. I want to say congratulations on your 6th anniversary. Is that correct?
Yes.
This past
August. Yeah.
early August. So you have different types of people coming in. You have different things that you'll do because you cater to the people, your customers, your guests.
Right.
I was kind of browsing in there and I saw tamales,
Yeah.
Wagyu. How do you say that correctly?
Wagyu. Well, I say redneck it up when I say Wagyu.
Wagyu.
Wagyu would be more correct.
Okay.
If you Nihongo ga wakarimasu, but most people don't, so it's fine.
Wagyu tamales.
Wagyu tamales. So Tony's Tamales, which is famous in the area. I asked him if he would if I gave him Wagyu ground beef, would he make tamales for me? I've made too many tamales in my life, never going to do it again. But they're delicious, and he started making Wagyu tamales for us, and they're just phenomenal, so good. He would agree. I mean, he said, it's been a long time since I sat down and just crushed a dozen tamales, but yours smelled so good I just had to, and he sat there and ate them, and they're really good. So it incorporates another local business, which is what we're all about.
Yeah.
And they're only a few minutes away on 49. Their new facility is going to be in Flora.
Another business coming to Flora.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yep. And you also have some, besides all the wonderful meats, and the things that I'm asking you about, the tamales and the next question, you have cuts of different fabulous meats, Wagyu and pork chops and everything, but you also do dog food.
Dog food. So if you get whole animals, you get a lot of organ meats, and that makes the best dog food. So I got a recipe from a family friend in Monroe, longtime veterinarian, probably the most respected in Monroe. I got a recipe for just your average, everyday, good, healthy dog food for people on a raw dog food diet, or dogs on a raw dog food diet. And it's got brown rice and spinach and carrots and like all this stuff in it, and it's mostly organ meats ground up and a little bit of meat in there with it, but it is just like a massive vitamin shot every time they eat it. And you can stir a little bit into the dog food. There's some people just feed them straight that. There's larger breeds like German Shepherds that really benefit from a raw dog food diet. And people just like to baby their dogs. We have dog bones, all that stuff. So we get a lot of people that come in and they just buy stuff for their dogs and don't buy anything for themselves. But they'll spend the money on the dog.
Yeah, you got to spend all the money on the dogs.
Yeah.
That's what my husband says, that all the decisions that are made in our household are based off of our 2 dogs.
All right. That's a way to go.
We don't have kids, so that's great. And the Rain cellar is next door to the butcher shop, so we've been in there. You have a tasting bar. You have all the liquors and all the wines. And you said that your dad, in addition to raising the cattle, he was a wine guy.
He was a big wine guy. He had a 10,000 bottle cellar that he had cases stacked down the middle of, so I don't even know how much was in there. Bought more than he could drink. He'd give it away every Christmas in his own not handmade, but he'd pack his own little gift bags up to give to people. I'd go drop them off at offices around town and stuff when I was a kid. But he was always into wine. We were drinking amazing wines when I was little. Like I started when I was probably 12, tasting some amazing wine. There's some things that I used to drink back then that he still had a bottle of when he passed away, and we sat around and drank it. It was just cool.
How much influence did your dad have on all the things that you do now?
I guess more than anything, my dad was just a gunner. He was he had the fire, we used to say. And I didn't get the fire right away, I have to say that too. But I got the fire, and I was like him, and he was just constantly working. And if he had a moment's sleep, he was like, well, obviously I could be doing something else. And something about his personality infected me when I got a little older. When I started doing something I liked, culinary, then I got the fire, and then I just keep going. So that's probably his biggest influence on me.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to do fun fact time.
Okay.
What is your favorite cut of steak or beef or meat?
If I ever see hanger on the menu, I usually get hanger, although tri-tip is absolutely phenomenal. It's different because you have to thin slice it and eat it against the grain, but hanger is just so good. It's always been a big favorite of mine. Okay. I used to go to steakhouses and get the hanger and eat it as an appetizer and then get another steak because I can eat a lot.
This is the type of meal that I want to have.
Yes, and so I get a big steak afterwards, but I eat a hanger steak first.
Okay.
Even though that was 2 steaks back to back.
That sounds like a wonderful
I agree.
dinner.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you like to cook at home? What's your favorite go-to meal or special thing?
I don't know if I told you, but my wife's a vegetarian.
Yes.
Yeah, so that throws a wrench in it big time.
You've got a butcher shop and a barbecue joint, and your wife eats vegetables.
So my kids are medium vegetarians, like they are, but they aren't. Like at home, she only cooks vegetarian food for them, but when they're around me, they eat other things. Mm-hmm. But I guess a childhood favorite to make would be like chicken broccoli casserole. My mom used to make it for me all the time, and I just always loved it. It's just comfort food on a whole nother level.
Right.
But it doesn't sound real fancy, but I've made it fancy for people before.
How so?
I took squash blossoms and dehydrated them onto a bowl so that there was a little shell, and it looked like just flames, and then I kind of put all the components in the middle of it and heated the sauce and put it on separately and just shaved Parmesan over it, and it was chicken broccoli casserole, and I had a little squash blossom like fried with mozzarella in it over on the side of the plate with a big drizzle of a gas streak, and it looked amazing. I got one of my jobs in New Orleans when I had to do a tasting by doing that dish, and it was chicken broccoli casserole, but it didn't look like chicken broccoli casserole. So you can make anything fancy.
Right.
I've certainly I like doing that. So.
Okay. So chicken broccoli casserole.
Yeah.
Okay. Tea, sweet or unsweet?
Unsweet. I'm not a big sugar guy. Okay. I don't like sweet things.
Meat.
Meat, vegetables. I just don't like. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm good at pastries and stuff like that, but I never do it because I don't even like feeling sticky. I just don't. I don't know. Pastry is not my thing. I just don't like it.
I get it. In all your travels, everywhere you've been, what is the most interesting or maybe what some people would say weirdest thing that you've eaten?
I've eaten people think grasshoppers and roaches and scorpions and things like that are weird. I don't know that I think it's as weird as, I don't know if you want to hear this story. I was living in Taiwan, and I was going out with a Taiwanese girl, And my brother came to visit me, and he wanted to eat interesting things while he was visiting me in Taiwan. So we went to this little market. It's easy to find something weird in Taiwan because it's just different cuisine than we're used to. So we got this big steaming plate of chicken testicles, and my girlfriend is just wolfing them down, and I'm looking at it like, I don't know about this, because they're huge, and they're just steamed, so they're all slimy looking, kind of. And my brother wants to try them because he wants to try to just try things. So he said, I'll eat this big black one right here if you just eat any of the other ones. And I'm like, all right. So we eat them, and it was the worst experience of my life I'll ever have. I was like crying in the shower after it. We couldn't look each other in the eye. It was horrible, horrible. So I'll never do that again. But I've eaten everything under the sun that I could get my hands on.
I don't even know where chicken testicles are. I don't want to know.
Yeah, it's better for me not to think about it either.
I'm sorry.
I do, but I don't really care. I'm just you wouldn't believe the size of these things. But anyway, it's more of a texture thing. But yeah, I've eaten. My kids love asking me that question. Have you ever eaten giraffe? I'm like, yeah. You ever eaten lion? Yeah. You ever eaten this? Yeah. You ever eaten that? Yeah. And they're just, Daddy, you're not supposed to eat those. I'm like, well, if they put it in front of me, I'm just going to try it. I mean, I used to eat a lot of horse meat when I was in Italy, and I mean, it was amazing, delicious. I had horse, like a fillet in Paris one time, and it's good. I mean, it's just, but, you know, you're not supposed to do that here.
We don't do that.
But I've eaten things, you know, very bizarre to most people.
Places and,
they eat dogs in Taiwan and, you know, stuff like that.
Did you ever eat a dog?
I don't think so, but I'm not sure. There was like a butcher shop down the street, and it listed all the things that it has in it by putting a picture of it on the wall. Mm-hmm. And like right in the middle of all these like cows and goats and stuff like that, there's a golden retriever, like a beautiful long-maned golden retriever up there.
No.
And you could hear the dogs barking behind it. And it was technically illegal, but it's hard to tell like old school Asians what to eat when that's like something like you have to eat dog in the summer to cure you of this. And they truly believe it. And I don't know that they're wrong. I don't know that they're right, but it's just different cultures do different things. I know. But I don't think I have. It's probably more likely that I ate dog here from like that Chinese restaurant in Yazoo. There's some rough stuff over there.
Rough.
Doesn't seem like meat.
That's the bad one.
Oh, rough. Oh. No. I like where your head's at.
No. Okay, so what do you have on your plate? Like personal or professional? Are you going to open that fine dining restaurant?
Well, I mean, I probably shouldn't do anything else, but, my kids are 7 and 9. I don't know if I want to put anything else on myself just because I want to spend more time with them. At the same time, I don't know. I'd be happy if I didn't. Try to show people the things I know how to do. I think probably the first thing I'll do is probably trying to have wine dinners and stuff, just like once a month or something, either in this building or maybe even the Cotton Gin next door on a bigger scale.
Right.
And we already did one time for a distiller who came into town, and we used his bourbons that he brought to make specialty cocktails, and I put on like a 6-course meal for him and highlighted Mississippi products and all that, and they just had the best time. So we have a couple more planned, although we don't have like tickets or sold or anything like that. But we have a couple more wine importers and distributors that would like to do something. So basically, we'll buy the wine, and you can get like once a month you can get a permit from the ABC to serve wine somewhere you shouldn't. And we'll do that, and we'll just have invitation only, or just sell tickets, I guess is more the way to say it. And we'll just have small groups in here, and as we get going, maybe, you never know, maybe I'll take over the next building in Flora, and now I have like a tasting menu only fine dining restaurant in Flora, Mississippi, why not? Sure.
When you get those wine dinners officially planned and ready to release, please let us know so we can post them everywhere.
I don't know if we're going to post it everywhere right off the bat. It might be like tell certain people. Yeah.
Okay, well that's all I have for you. I'm done with you. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you very much for being here. Do you have any social media that you'd like to shout out, or websites, or?
I don't love our websites, but the Rain Cellar one is Anne Marie created like in a couple of hours because she's such a stud. but I don't even know how to say what's on it. It's Rain Cellars, but you can just Google Rain
Just
Cellars
Google's
now.
Rain Cellars.
Things pop up. But the Flora Butcher, yeah, I'd go with the RAINES.
Yeah.
But just go to Facebook, Instagram, things like that, and you'll find the Triple B. You'll find the Flora Butcher, and you'll find Rain Cellars and all that stuff. It's more of the social media than anything else. But
You don't participate in that, right?
I don't do as much of that as I should. Meaning
No,
none.
that's why I have Anne Marie.
That's why I have Anne Marie. That's
Yeah.
why I have my press agent Joe Dara. That's
Yeah,
why I
Joe.
have my butchers. One of them's all into it, so he does it for me in the butcher shop.
Okay.
I mean, everybody sort of, the people that want to do it, and I approve things sometimes. Sometimes it just goes, and I don't approve it, but it's always with the best intention. So.
Well, thank you very much. I really enjoyed our talk, and I really enjoyed my brisket plate this afternoon.
Good.
Thank you.
Love the brisket.
That's it. Yeah, he had the tri-tip sandwich. We
Yeah.
did the what you finna eat before we got here
Yeah.
today, and everybody was saying tri-tip sandwich, tri-tip sandwich, tri-tip sandwich. So.